Hey, kia ora koutou. If you're not already aware, I'm Brad, father to Ahurewa Te Maikoha, who is also on Ward 27 with both the families who are now there. And I just want to say I got a lot of messages fired at me with a lot more questions, and I thought it would be easier, instead of replying to each individual question, just to share with you what I've discovered, what I've found out, and and part of our journey. But again, to all those who are on this journey, I just encourage you to stay strong, make decisions and choices for your child, for you know them best. I just hope I can give some clarity and answers with this video. But first, I'm just going to start off with a karakia, and then I'll continue into the conversation. So, man, let us pray. E hoa o ngā mano e te karaite te wairua tapu, e ino e atu ana mātou ki a koe. Kia ho mai hea tau tō mairangi me tau karore ki runga i a mātou I tēnei rā, a karore ki tō ingoa tapu. Amen. Father, Lord, we are just thankful for being able to share in wisdom and knowledge, and that you provided us with choice and with free will, Father, Lord, and may we continue to take those choices and free will and use them with courage, dedication and commitment to our children and to the loved ones around us. I thank you for the surgeons that our children's hands are being placed in, and I thank you for the doctors and nurses that surround us, and I thank you for modern day medicine. But I also thank you for original medicine, as we will also be having a discussion about that today. May you bring peace and comfort to all those who are on the ward going through difficult times. I myself understand how that feels, and the stages of grief that we all must go through, and at times go backwards and forwards. But Lord, may you bring us peace so that we can make clarity with regards to our decision making for the well-being of our families and our children. I thank you for the courage of each parent who is up there day in, day out, putting on a smile and walking with some happy chirps in their step, knowing that the reality is it's a tough journey. But we thank you that you are with us always, around us always, and there always to offer comfort and love. We give you praise and glory in Jesus Christ's mighty name. Amen. So yeah, whānau, I just realized that I probably wandered off with the camera and it was pointing in some other directions. I'll just give you a quick background on I guess myself. So I've got 6 children, live in a blended family, love it. Also have 1 moko and 1 on the way. So family and children are my life, and I just wanted to share that with you. My background with regards to my work, so I'm a clinical social worker for the New Zealand Defence Force. So been in the practice now for 18 years in various roles, but in my latest role in the last 2 years I've been with the New Zealand Defence Force, and one of the, I guess, fundamental things that I love is wellness as opposed to health. But that's a long story, but I want to share more about wellness because I do that in my position as a therapist in the Defence Force, and have had great results. And it comes from the story, you can give a man a fish and he'll feed his family for a day, or you can teach a man how to fish and he will feed his family for life. So with those whakataukis, or those little proverbs, come wisdom. So back to the conversation around the cannabis oil. So first thing I want to share with you all is, I know there are other methods that people are doing, alkaline water to try and reduce the acidity levels in the stomach, or increase them. I can't quite remember which way it goes, but an alkalinic stomach assists with, apparently, assists with dealing with cancer, or it starves it, or it doesn't allow it to grow in a particular environment inside the microbiome or inside the stomach. I understand the one around vitamin C. I haven't looked into it much, but it was amazing to listen to that man's story in and around vitamin C, and the one he shared, I think it was on 2020 or one of those shows. Amazing. Go for it. I've also had people message me around sound wave therapy, where they, at a certain frequency, they send sound waves through the body towards tumors and stuff, and it's meant to be at a particular frequency that actually disturbs or kills the cancer, because understanding that cancer and all ailments are purely, what would you call them? Cells. There's cells, and at the core of us as human beings, we're all atoms, and so you can understand how frequency waves and that can interfere with the possible waves or building blocks that are all made of energy inside each and every one of our bodies. But moving along, so there was a lot of questions around when is the best time to start the cannabis oil. Is it prior to chemo? Is it during chemo? Is it too late after chemo? Is it too late after someone goes into remission? So I share one thing: it's never too late. That's my clear point. It's never too late. Reason being is it's not actually about the cannabis oil, but it's about what it actually assists. And what it assists inside the body is the endocannabinoid system. And I'll give you a quick history, and I'm not a scholar, I'm not a historian, but when my daughter got diagnosed with leukemia, all my training into research and stuff went full tit for 3 days into trying to understand both the leukemia and more importantly, the way to heal the body and the human body, and my daughter especially. And what I found was amazing. It's about an endocannabinoid system. We know that chemotherapy can't distinguish between good cells and bad cells, and therefore it kills all the cells, and takes our children into a neutropenic state, as we all know, and then we've got to wait for the counts to come back up and the neutrophils to come in, monocytes to come in, to enable our child to be having an immune system, and then normally after that, next round of chemo or something like that, if not being finished. The endocannabinoid system, right, its role and function is to bring the body parts or the ailments or the dis-ease in the body back to a state of homeostasis. So first I'll just talk about some neuroexcitatory conditions such as epilepsy, Tourette's, and all those conditions where the brain overfires and sends multiple messages continuously and creates that overfiring, and therefore creates variations of people's inability to control some of their behaviors, whether it be Tourette's, epilepsy. It's good for children with ADD. It's good for children who are Asperger's or autistic. It's got multiple purposes, but I'll tell you how it works. So the messages in our mind, we have neurotransmitters that send signals, right? So they call out to the fella next door and tell them that there's a particular issue in a particular part of the body. He then sends messages, what they call along a synapses. So that's a multiple lines of communication to different parts of the body to assist in the functioning of sorting out that body part. So that goes to another cousins that they all call to, and then from them they call into the next lot and call into the next lot. If you have a deficiency in your endocannabinoid system, if you have a deficiency, those messages will continue to fire off. So this is talking about the neuroexcitatory diseases or conditions, sorry. So what happens is if that message passes those transmitters twice, 3 times, the cannabinoid, right, enters in between the 2 transmitters and modulates that message to say, I will no longer be sending that message because it sends the body out of harmony or homeostasis, right? And therefore those messages don't get the ability to continue to transmit. It kills that overfiring, and that's why you see a lot of reduction in people with epilepsy and other neuroexcitatory conditions. Moving along, what also the endocannabinoid system does, and now we're going to look at it on a cellular level. So we know that the cells themselves, right, on the end of the cells, I'll draw a picture. So on the, actually, that's going to be hoha. A cell looks like a circle, and then you've got receptors that come off it, like little spikes that come off it. And those receptors act like locks, and only a particular key can open that receptor and go into that cell, right, and do as it needs to do, whether it be transmitter, conversation, whether it be whatever the job it needs to do. It'll always be to bring the body back to homeostasis, yeah, bring the body back to harmony. So a long time ago, they tried to, when I say they, doctors, I'll send some links, you can do your own research, but they did some tests because they wanted to isolate the compound inside the cannabis plant that had the psychoactive activity, and as they found out, it was the THC. What they weren't able to discover is on a cell, those little spikes, they're called receptors, and like I said, they act as a lock, and only the appropriate key that should be able to open them can bind itself to the cell and enter it. They didn't have the technology to follow where the THC was going, and so they had no idea which receptor it was going to. Move along in time, and we have CAT scans, MRIs, and all different scans, and what they're able to do is put a radioactive trace on the THC as it entered into the rat, and seen it go through and where it landed. And what they found out is it hit a receptor, and they've known about this receptor for a long time, but it was called the orphan receptor because they didn't understand the lineage or what was its whakapapa, what opened it, what opened that particular receptor to be able to interface with the cell. When they learned that this receptor, what is now called the endocannabinoid receptor, right, what they learned is the THC unlocks it. Further into their experiments and research, they found out that we have thousands and thousands of receptors throughout the body to do multiple jobs, but the constant role was to bring the body back into harmony, back into homeostasis. But let's talk about the cells. So, because the chemotherapy can't distinguish between good cells and bad cells, it wipes them all out, right? However, what the endocannabinoid, or what the cannabis oil does, right, is it sends in thousands and thousands of medicinal compounds. Actually, that's a lie. There's about 140 to 160 compounds that they've discovered, but it goes to thousands of different receptors, yeah, throughout the body. It's amazing. So I just wanted to correct that. What it does is it binds to our normal cells, right? Opens it up and recognizes the internal of that cell. It recognizes that it belongs where it is. It recognizes that there's harmony between the cannabinoid entering and the connection to the receptor and what's inside that cell. There's a harmony into it because it is in harmony with the rest of your body. When it binds to a receptor of a cancerous cell, it enters into the cancerous cell and finds it's in disharmony, finds it doesn't belong to the body, finds it's a foreign agent. Now, it doesn't kill the cancer. That's not what it does. But because it's useless to the body, now I'm talking about the cell, it actually tells the brain, or tells the synapses or the neuro relay messages to no longer supply that cell with blood. And what happens to a cell that isn't been able to supply it with blood? It dies, yeah. And once it dies, then the body's able to take care of it in its own way, and clear up all that rubbish inside the body. So it's not that the oil kills the cancer; it actually turns it off, right? It switches it off. And if you've probably read my story that I've written on the page, and also a family, another family on the ward, and I've got someone from Christchurch who have sent me videos, but I'm just getting their permission, and I'll post it up here. So, I'll tell a few more things, because people have asked these questions too. Smoking cannabis, or smoking the plant, the medicine, it's good for, I guess, for pain relief and everything like that, because it deals with what the brain is going through. yeah, and the brain is going through constant thoughts around the pain and sending those messages off, pain, 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 pain. It modulates those messages, sends them back and reduces the inflammation. And when the body reduces the inflammation, you stop worrying about it, and therefore you turn off adrenaline and cortisol off in your body, and everything starts getting back to homeostasis. Taking it orally, right, two things happen. If you can take it under the tongue, if you're old enough, and take it under the tongue, right, it goes through all the membranes underneath your tongue, and it affects you within 5 to 10 minutes. When I say affects you, it depends what you're on, but it starts to work within 5 to 10 minutes. For our girl, she don't want it sitting in her mouth, so either we're dripping it in and it goes down to her intestine tract, or we put it in our bottles and it does the same thing. But what we notice is the onset of slight euphoria comes on after about half an hour, and we can talk about the euphoria and dysphoria later on. Then you have I forget the name of them, but what are they called? Anyway, you insert them inside your body, so whether it be your rectum, and I've also heard of people using it for period pains and stuff like that, and so they're putting them into their vagina. Taking them in these alternative ways does alternative things for the body, right? And the more serious the ailments you're looking at, like when you get into stage 4 and everything like that, you want it in you, down you, and up you. You want it to be creating as much harmony throughout the body to allow the body's immune system a rest to be able to recuperate. So then once it's fired up, they both act upon making the body well. Okay. Suppositories, that's the name I was looking for. It's come to me, suppositories. So you can take them in those forms, yeah. So, but just smoking cannabis ain't gonna do nothing with regards to killing the ailments or the cancers, yeah. You have to ingest it or take it or use the suppositories. Just smoking it's not a killer. It'll assist with the pain because it stops the neurotransmitters transmitting those constant messages of pain, pain, pain. The other thing I want to tell you is CBD alone has a narrow therapeutic window. So meaning that it's only got 13 compounds in it. But at first, when I first found out about my daughter, I looked up CBD because, you know, I was fearful because everyone telling me about the psychoactive side to it with the THC and how bad it was and everything like that. And I took that on board as the gospel. What I soon learned after researching is the CBD alone, 13 compounds. CBD and THC taken gives you over 130 medicinal compounds. Now remember, this plant is not toxic. So even the compounding effect of taking this oil or suppositories or how you choose to take it doesn't have a toxic effect on the body. There is something known as the serotonin syndrome, rare, triple rare, and when we say rare, I'm talking to you guys, we already know what rare looks like because our children have got cancer. Well, had cancer for some of us. And now I lost my train of thought. Trying to think, especially when you're doing a video, it gets quite complicated because you're trying to think and trying to understand that you're still trying to get the message across. So anyway, I'll clear it up. So regardless of how you take it, smoking isn't going to actually assist with curing the cancer or killing the cancer. So also I want to talk about, so CBD, THC, you get further compounds, right? Medicinal compounds, but then I also want to talk about THC A and CBD-A. Now THC-A and CBD-A you can use as much as you want and it has no psychoactive effect. And THC-A and CBD-A come from a raw plant. So you get the raw plant in its flowering state, you cut it at the stalk and juice the whole thing, and out of that comes the actual juice of the plant that is in an acidic form. yeah, and you go for gold with that. You put it into your ice blocks and put it into making yogurt ice blocks or whatever you want, or you can just make normal ice blocks with the drips in it and put them into your smoothies and get them down you. Yeah, there is going to be zero psychoactive activity, because the only time the psychoactive activity comes in is when the material has been heated in one shape, form or another. So I just wanted to share that. But getting back to the THC and the psychoactive effect, it's all about microdosing, start small, go slow. Yeah? Don't be afraid of the CBD and the THC. Yes, you may get euphoria, and euphoria is when you will see your child looking in a sense of just joyful play. Dysphoria is when you'll see your child in a state of what looks like anxiety. Even though they're babies, if you observe close enough, you will see it. Yeah? And so this is why it comes down to you being deeply observant, following notes, so track how you're doing it, track what you're doing, track your drops, but start small, go slow. For our daughter, we started on one drop in her mouth, one drop on her pito, or which is her belly button. And then we would use a topical balm, and this topical balm is infused with the cannabis oil, and we put it on her temples. And then at night after chemo, we'll rub her whole body down, and therefore we're taking all the cannabinoid properties in multiple ways, both through the skin, orally, in the mouth. Yeah, and so we're flooding her. Then we moved on to 2 drops every 6 hours, then 3 drops every 6 hours, and then 4 drops. And we did this each day. And now we sit at about 10 to 12 drops, but then we can also, what I was sharing with another family is we don't just have one oil. We have a CBD prescribed from a doctor, but unfortunately a CBD and THC or a 1-to-1 mix you can't get unless your child is desperately ill, and by that time it's really hard. It's not impossible, but it's hard. You should have gone in sooner rather than later, but unfortunately that's the legislation we have in New Zealand. Also understanding that we have 3 other oils, and they have different components, from a higher THC level, lower CBD, higher CBD level, lower THC, and a 1-to-1 THC and CBD. Now, why do we have multiple and the balm? We have this because even like modern day pharmaceutical medicines, you take something at the doctor and they say, if it doesn't work, come back. Well, unfortunately, we haven't been allowed to have human trials, and so our ability to ensure and give you the either the indica or sativa, higher THC, lower THC, higher CBD, lower CBD, or CBD alone, right? We have to actually become a deeply observant parent around watching what happens when we place it in. Now, it's not what happens in the regards to things going wrong or things going bad. It's watching it with regards to ensuring that you start small, go slow. Watch for when the euphoric state happens. If it doesn't start after the first oil and you see them being able to take it well, have another one and work your way up slowly, and write it down, whānau. Write what you're doing, because it's about being diligent in what you're doing with your tamariki, and also you want to be able to prove and show that you're not a neglectful parent, and that you are very cautious and very particular about the care of your child. And so this is why you follow a regime. And so we have those 4 so that we can watch what we need to do in regards to what we see happening. I.e., if it's before chemo, then we go a higher CBD, because we know that the nausea and that all kicks in. So we go higher CBD. We put the balm on her temples, in her belly button, and then we don't have nausea. We rub her down and we don't have any inflammatory throughout her body, and hence she runs and plays. She didn't have any mucositis, no feeding tubes, nothing, and actually she put on 1.5 kilos, nearly 2 kilos from continuously being up at the hospital. So we know that there are different parts, even though the immune system is down, there are different parts of the body that are taking a response to the illness of the body. Yeah. And so if my darling had diarrhea from the chemo, we would intensify the CBD, very low THC, because the CBD actually helps with the diarrhea, and actually turns the stools back into quite a nice stool, not a solid constipatory stool, but a nice stool. So you have to be diligent and you have to write your notes. It's not just drop some oil and think that that's going to be the miracle cure. First point. Second point is, unfortunately, the oils that we have. Well, I say fortunately, it's a miracle if anything, but unfortunately, it doesn't come from the government. But what I can tell you is who we've sourced and the diligence we've put around that by sitting with them, having conversations with them, and ensuring that what they are giving, there is some protocol around it and there is some safety checks going on. And what I can tell you, family, and all those watching, is that they have a particular group, and there is a person who moderates and checks over the people who want to sort of affiliate themselves with this group and assist in the communities with medicinal oils. But what she does is she won't give them the tick, or if you go through her, she'll put you onto someone that's already got the tick with regards to their product being tested. So I can't share those names and that on here, but those products are tested. So you're not going to give your child some fungus or some clandestine stuff made up in the back of someone's boot. Yeah, it's legitimate, it's done professional. Like I said, I've sat with the people. They're very clued up, from a herbal pharmacologist. There's a couple of doctors that sit in their reference circle on the peripheral. But yeah, so these people do their stuff, and they want to be legitimized in time. But right now they're more concerned with the duty of care for patients and the choice and options that are very limited out there. So be confident. At first we were shit scared, so we just went for the prescribed one. After research, I knew that THC was needed. Went out, found these people, sat down, had conversations, because hey, we're dealing with my daughter's life, and so I'll be doing my due diligence. And yeah, these people are legitimate. So I hope this video stays private to the page amongst us as patients, because there is something that's been offered that's such a beautiful gift to children and to adults who are suffering out there. But unfortunately, for whatever reason, it remains off the radar for the government to accept it. Going through the prescribed way, it costs $400 for one doctor, or there is another doctor, I think it's like $180. We didn't know of him at first, so we went through the $400 one, and then there's consultations sort of 4 times after that, just to see how it's all going. Again, those are $150 a consultation, so again, very expensive. And then from there, the prescription medicine is normally around $280 to $300, and like I said, it's very limited to a CBD singular 13 compound medicine. Not to scoff at it. If you just want to stick with that because of other fears that you have, then please do it. No one's judging on here. No one's gonna say yay or nay. This is your child, and so you got to make decisions for your child. That's important. That is the important part. And then there is the stuff that's non-government or non-government registered. I'm saying that in the politest way, and you can understand that for whatever reasons that people want to remain, I guess, anonymous at this time. But further to this conversation, please message me if you want some information, and these people are more than happy to help you, and they are dedicated to the cause, and they have suffered in their own lives with either their own ailments or ailments of their children, and they have been a part of the success of using medicinal cannabis. What else? So it's never too late, it's never too early. And the other thing I'll tell you is my daughter will remain on the cannabis oil, but hopefully in September, if this legislation passes, we will grow our own, and then we will juice the whole plants, because the THCV and the THCA and the CBDA, the acid form, has zero psychoactive activity. Yeah, and so that's what we're going to be doing, hopefully, if the legislation passes. I got asked, how long will someone be on it? If your child has gone into remission, right, you should either get on it if you're not on it, yeah, or seriously look into it. I'll share links and posts in private messages, just so I don't flood the patient's page. I'll share messages on there and posts with different research that's out there. But just to let you know, why I say get on it and sort all that stuff out is because it takes 5 to 7 years for our body to recover at its deepest cellular level, understanding that it's all been wiped out by the chemotherapy. This being said, that is the reason why when you go into remission, right, you want your endocannabinoid system to be at its highest functioning, and at its strongest capability. You don't want a deficient endocannabinoid system, yeah, because then your immune system gets depleted continuously, and you got no sort of secondary or support wellness system going on in your body. So if you're not already on it and your child's in remission and you're happy with everything, I know why you'll be happy. My child's been in remission since day 4, and we've had to watch you go through 2 other rounds of chemo, but we did it just for certainty, and also I had a peace about it, and so we followed through. But so our daughter, she'll remain on it for the next 5 to 7 years, and I'm sure as she gets older, she'll find her own ways of how to take it, whether it be she makes smoothies or puts it in yogurt or however she'll take it. But it's going to be a part of her regime and a part of her diet for the next 7 years, because 2 things: we want to ensure that she remains well and free from any seeds that may try and rear their ugly head, and that she defeats this thing finally and forever. The second thing that some people are worried about is the interaction between the 2 medicines. What I talk about medicines, the pharmaceutical medicine and the original plant medicine. And the reality is they work on different receptors in the body, so they don't have any interaction and any interactive play. The doctors on the ward, I love them. I love the surgeons. They've all been awesome. The nurses have all been awesome. Yeah, but unfortunately the DHB has a non-cannabis policy, even though it's legal as of the 1st of April. The DHB actually has a policy against the desire or ability to prescribe it to any of the patients. Yeah, so they're pretty hamstrung, and so I'm not in any way denying what they're doing and what they continue to do, but I will tell you that they will try and say, no, don't do it. No, it would be foolish. No, we don't know the consequences of the interaction between the medicines. They did that with us. Yeah, they've spoken that over us. We continue to stay strong to our position and our point. And it wasn't a naive decision. It was a decision backed by research and by, I can send you some of the research I've found, but guys, this is the freedom of the internet. This is the freedom of research that's on there. If you want to look up, I can give you some links. I can send you them via Messenger. Give me a holler, and I'll send them via Messenger, because I don't want to flood this page with that sort of information. But the interaction between the medicines, the pharmaceutical and the plant medicine, no, you're not gonna find any interactions, because they deal with different receptors on the cell. Yeah, you've seen 2 stories already from my story. Another family up on the ward. Like I said, if I get the permission from a friend who I've assisted down in Christchurch to share his video, I'm sure he'll love it. And he's another story of a baby who was in bed, couldn't move, huge nausea, wouldn't eat, and everything else. And then you'll see the video and you'll hear Dad speak about 8 days being on the cannabis oil, and they have not seen such improvements within this small amount of time. So hopefully I can get to share that with you all. If I haven't covered anything, apologies. I may make another video. There was a parent asked me to do some webinars. I'm not a doctor. I'm just a parent with knowledge, and I may take that opportunity up if there's a lot of desire to sit and want to ask questions. But like I says, we're in the day and age now of an internet that can search anything. Israel is the leading country in research. So, type in the disease, the particular disease you're talking about, and look up the research from cannabinoids or cannabis oil in Israel, and you will find research. But like I said, it's not about diseases, because it's about what the disease causes in the body and the cannabinoid, endocannabinoid system creating harmony back into the body. Yeah. So it doesn't matter what is the ailment. Yeah. It doesn't matter if it's a neurocirculatory condition, or if it's a cancer, or if it's a tumor. Yeah. It's about the homeostasis that this medicine is able to place inside the body. So when you've got a failing immune system and a healthy endocannabinoid system, that is what rebalances the body and puts it back into homeostasis. I hope I haven't used too much jargon in this video. If you see me up on the ward, me or my darling Rachel or Ahu, please say hi. We're open and friendly to talk to. We love everybody's support and continued support, man. And I just say, stay courageous and bold, family. You're going to take some chances out there, but your child's life isn't just in the hands of the doctors. Take some control and work alongside the doctors. Keep an eye on things, and yeah, just stay courageous, stay bold. Yeah, man. Peace to all and every one of you who are out there and who have watched this. Like I says, man, can we please just have a private platform for where we can share as just patients. Because I know the desires and fears that can sit behind parents and adults to probably desire to show this video to a doctor and say, is he correct, is he whatnot? The doctor's always going to speak against it, because if they were going to use it, it would have been used by now. Yeah, if it was going to be in our regimes and our protocols to treat these ailments and diseases, it would already be there. It's coming. It'll be here in a few years. Yeah, but for now, you're going to have all this denial, and they will try and repute and speak against a lot of these things. But what I say to you is, you're a parent, you know your child, you've seen your child at their best, and you've seen their child now declining. You will know as you use this stuff, and be diligent in and around recording how you do it, when you do it. And like I says, these people who get it from the people I get it from, they'll give you a protocol, they'll give you a regime, and they stay in contact with you. They stay in contact with you, and there's myself and other people who will join you, and you won't be alone on this journey. I wish you courage and strength to each and every parent, and man, all the best. You can do this. Ka kite.